This is my response to Charlottesville analysis. So starting out with the syntax analysis, we can see that the governor's and Trump's was very closely related. The governor had a few more morphemes than Trump, so this caused his MLU to be slightly higher. And we can see that their sentence attempts were both 0, so they were speaking in complete sentences during their speeches. We can see that Trump had one more simple sentence than the governor, and this is the complete opposite for complex sentences, as we can see that the governor only had one more than President Trump. Switching over to semantics analysis, we can see that this one is also about the same because they had the same number of nouns, the same number of verbs, and then the governor had 2 more describing words than Trump, and then Trump used about 2 times as many relational words / grammatical words. And we can also see from the chart that neither of them used any question words in their speeches, and then we can see that the governor used 1 more other words in their speech, which is like articles and whatnot. For the human communication rubric, I started out by giving the governor a 3 in semantics and President Trump a 2. I did this because I think that the governor was a little more easily understood, partly because President Trump was being interrupted during his speech, but I also think that both of their vocabulary fit the audience pretty well. And for syntax, I gave the governor a 3 and President Trump a 2 because the governor wasn't interrupted, so I think his sentences flowed better than President Trump's. For organization, I both gave them a 4 because I think their speeches were fairly organized. I think that President Trump's was maybe a little less organized because he was interrupted, but I don't necessarily blame him for that, so I think he was still adequately organized. For engagement, I gave the governor a 2 and President Trump a 4 because I think the governor was just speaking to his audience, and while President Trump was kind of engaging with his audience, they were asking him questions, and although he was being interrupted, he was answering them back. So after adding up the numbers, they both got the same score, a 12. So I think this proves that they both did a good job of delivering their speeches. The course concepts that I picked out from the speeches were auditory, interpretation, source, message, and noise. I noticed that both speakers were vocally expressing their message, and for interpretation, not all the receivers were interpreting the messages the same, so they were listening to the speeches and thinking different things. And for source, both speakers were the main sources in the video, but Trump shifted to the audience being the source a few times when they were asking him questions. And for the message, I think both of them had relatively the same message and they regarded the same subject. And noise was also present in both videos, but I think it occurred more in Trump's video because there was a lot of background noises, which was the media, and you could at some points hear them asking questions and interrupting Trump. Conclusion, both videos were relatively similar regarding the human communication rubric, and I think they possess similar details in the syntax and semantics analysis. I thought it was interesting to compare the 2 speakers conveying similar messages and listening to their communication methods.